This week on Let's Talk Schools, from cell phone usage to harassment to the dangers of bringing vapes and candy substances to school, we'll tell you all about the recent changes to the Student Code of Conduct and the district's non-negotiable behavior expectations for students. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Schools. I'm Mike Looney, the host of the show, and also have the good fortune of being the superintendent of schools here in Fulton County. Today, we're going to be talking about a very important topic to our families and to our teachers, and that is the Student Code of Conduct for the 24-25 school year. And I have our local homegrown experts right here. Jose, please introduce yourself. Tell us your title.
Sure. My name is Jose Mena, and I'm the coordinator for the Office of Student Discipline.
Dr. Scott.
And I am Kevin Scott, the Director of Student Discipline, Intervention, and Prevention here at Fulton.
So tell me, Dr. Scott, what is that, that's a big role, a big title. What is it that you do?
Right. So I've worked day in, day out with making sure that our schools are a place where students can come and feel safe, respected. I worked with principals and assistant principals in making sure that students feel safe and respected, and we create that positive learning environment where academic growth achievement can occur.
Absolutely. Good deal. So the Student Code of Conduct is something that the board approves every year.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the process that we go through to make revisions. You know, you would think we made the rules, they don't ever have to change. But things happen, situations change. So what is the process like for us to go from one Student Code of Conduct to the next?
Right. That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. So each year at the end, we look at discipline trends. We have surveys that go out to our stakeholders, which would include our parents. We have conversations with our principals and assistant principals to really get that feedback as to what updates and what adjustments we really need to make to the Code of Conduct. And we do it every single year.
Right.
Some of the things this year that are coming out that are new that we noticed was harassment. You know, harassment we're not going to tolerate it. We're not going to tolerate it in our schools. We're not going to have students feeling not safe, not respected. So we really looked at harassment, and we defined it with a robust definition of what it means to engage in harassing behavior. And along those lines, we have some standardized responses on how we're going to respond as a district when it comes to that rule breaking around harassment. And another aspect is making sure that we take that opportunity for students to learn. If a student engages in harassing behavior, we want to have an opportunity for them to reflect on that and learn from that behavior and know that it is not going to be tolerated here at Fulton County Schools.
I have a question for both of you. The Student Code of Conduct is the rules that govern our students' conduct.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is we're much like we're in the role of a parent in their absence when they're in school.
Correct.
So, you know, a lot of people think, well, a student broke the rule, therefore they should be excluded from school. But we can't suspend our way out of discipline infractions. It's really about, there being a consequence for the behavior, but then more importantly, it's about learning and growing from the mistakes that you make. Because Lord knows I made lots of mistakes when I was a kid. And so I think you work with PBIS, Jose.
Yes.
Talk to us about the learning process. It's not just about the discipline or the consequence, but it's really about the rehabilitation and how do we learn from those experiences.
So I just want the parents to understand what PBIS is. PBIS is Positive Behavior Intervention and Support, and it's pretty much teaching expectations. So what we do is every single school year, every school that has been trained, we teach the students the expectations. We teach the students the expectations in regards to what are hallway behaviors, what are lunchroom behaviors, right? And even when a student violates one of the code of conducts, we make sure that we reteach those behaviors, right? So for example, if there's a fight, we want them to understand the importance of, what happened, right? What were who was impacted by that fight. So it's not only about the consequence, it's also about understanding, how you impacted other people. So we want to reteach those behaviors in a positive way. So we want to just, once again, reteach them the skill set that maybe they may lack. So then that way they fully understand.
So it's really about reinforcing the behaviors that we want, our parents want, our students, classmates want students to display and in a school setting.
Absolutely.
So we reinforce, kind of like with my own children. If they did something that I approved of, I gave them attaboys.
Right.
Great job that you did.
Right.
You did it the way I asked you to do, rather than just focusing on the negative.
Right.
So I know that there's negatives, there's consequences, and I know that our district has taken a harsh stand on some types of behavior that are particularly problematic. One of them is group fights. Historically, we came out of COVID and we had a surge in group fights happening in Fulton County Schools, and so we had a standard response. So what aside from, so you mentioned harassment. So and harassment takes on lots of different forms.
It does.
And it's one of those buzzwords now. I'm being harassed.
It is.
So what can you talk a little bit more about what we mean by harassment?
So harassment means if you are targeting a student based on their racial identity, gender identity, sexual orientation, religion, anti-Semitic language, or slurs, all of those things fall under the umbrella of harassing behavior. And like I said, we're not going to tolerate it. We have a lot of concerning things happening in our community, a lot of things happening in our society that are very concerning, they're going to come into our schools. And we have to make it clear through expectations that it's not going to be tolerated. And one thing I would encourage parents to do is sit down with your student, sit down with your child, and review the code of conduct. Go over it with them so they understand what's expected of them from day one to when they graduate from us. They need to know that we're not going to tolerate it.
So it's important that parents sit down with their children and actually read through the student handbook every year.
Absolutely.
To understand what the rules are, because not knowing it was a rule is not sufficient.
That is not acceptable.
And so you will, unfortunately, there'll be a consequence if you violate the rule.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be expelled from school forever, though.
No. I mean, our code is designed to have ranges of consequences based on certain tier infractions. Our code ranges from tier 1 to tier 4. Tier 1 are minor acts of misconduct, up to tier 4, which are serious acts of misconduct, and an administrator has some discretion as to the range of consequences based on developmentally for elementary and secondary, which would be our middle and high school students.
I believe, and I think we all agree, that schools are simply a reflection of the community and where they do business, where they exist. And so the problems, the challenges, the benefits of living in a community are reflected in the school.
Absolutely.
So if the school community values schooling and education, then schools will do well. If communities value, order, then our schools will be orderly. Would you agree with that statement?
I would agree with that. Schools are a microcosm of what's happening in the bigger community, in the larger community. And based on our history, we've come up through Fulton County Schools. We've been in schools ourselves as a support staff and an administrator with the Tri-Cities. So we know that sometimes things come into our schools that we have to deal with. We're not going to turn a blind eye to it or act like it doesn't exist. We're going to take it front on and say, you know what, we see it and we're going to deal with it in a way that makes people, we have kids 5 hours, 8 hours a day, 5 days out of the week, 10 months out of the year. We consider kids our own kids. And I want them to feel safe when they come to our school.
I would like to add on to that in regards to, our students feeling safe and in regards to the implementation of the code of conduct. We are aligned in regards to like PBIS, and we have seen a reduction in out-of-school suspension. We have seen a reduction into in-school suspension. We have seen a reduction into our office direct referrals. And that also is aligned with PBIS, or Positive Behavior Intervention Support. Right now, in the state of Georgia, we are the lead. Fulton County School is the lead in regards to the highest level of implementation, which is distinguished, right? In the state of Georgia, we have 27 distinguished schools, meaning we have reduced in every single one of those categories. Why? Because we're looking at a whole child approach.
Mhm.
So we're not looking at only exclusionary, right? We're looking at making sure that we do go back and we do reteach these expectations, right? It's not about just implementing these code of conduct violations. No, it's making sure that we're there for them. We work with the parents. So that is our goal.
Mhm. And we're very excited to see, because right now we're in that evaluation process with the state, and we are, we don't want to give out too much, but we're super excited about what's going to happen once we get those results in from this upcoming evaluation.
Well, I know that the board monitors the discipline data to the dashboard, and I certainly monitor it as well. And it's great to see reduction in student discipline cases coming. But the reality of there's always going to be some sort of discipline. Back in the day, it was sticking gum under the desk, or sending notes to the little girl that you were. That was all we had to do with the environmental change. And so let's talk about the reality. We have drugs in our schools, unfortunately, because we've said that drugs are, schools are a reflection of the community. So drugs exist in the community, then they're going to find their way in schools. Talk to us a little bit about the level of drug use in Fulton County schools, and what are we doing about it?
So one of the things that, we have seen has been an increase in, THC. There has been also with fentanyl, which is a very dangerous substance, very lethal. And also with THC, it could also end up where, being sick or end up hospitalized. So we want to make sure that the parents and the students understand that, along with the health risk, there are also consequences that come with that, right? Because we want to make sure that everyone is safe in our schools. So, we educate our students while they're at schools. We tell them about the safety risk in regards to drugs. We talk about, making sure that the students, that they do not bring any food items to share, right? Because we just don't know what's in those food items. We want to make sure that the students are not ingesting something that's going to be lethal to them.
Right.
So part of that is the education process. We're just not wanting to teach about, math and language arts. It's about educating them in regards to the lethal substances that are around in the community, right?
This might be a bad analogy, but I remember as a child, going trick-or-treating and being told, don't eat apples because there might be something in the apple, pin or something. So I was always suspicious of taking food, or especially like on Halloween, because there are bad actors in the world. Nowadays, people that are into that industry, they're drugging gummies,
Yes,
candy, and cookies, and all. And so the best advice we have is, if you didn't bring it to school, don't eat it. If it didn't come from the lunchroom, don't eat it, because you just never know. And we have had some pretty serious incidents where students unbeknowingly took a cookie or took a gummy and ended up going to the hospital because it was laced with something.
So we also, it's important to know too that if a student violates the code of conduct or breaks a rule around a drug offense, we do have a drug prevention program called Choose 180 that they do go through with their parent to help them understand choices that were made that put their health at risk, as well as the learning community in general at risk when you bring those things into our schools.
I know every parent sends their child to school to learn, to be safe, to be healthy, to be happy. And I don't know a single parent that says, I'm going to send my child to school to be disruptive, to do bad things. And so it's really important that our parents are seen as team members in schools. They're hand in hand with our teachers and our administrators and the students that we serve to build that network of safety. How would someone go about finding out more about the upcoming student code of conduct, about PBIS, or about anything related to the topics that we've discussed today?
Right. So we do have some things coming down the pipeline with we have a video project that we're working on that's going to be shown at our schools about expectations around behavior and consequences associated with breaking rules. And I would encourage parents to simply reach out. If you don't know something, you can contact your school. You can contact my office and ask. If you don't know, just ask us, and we will gladly point you in the direction you need to go. sit down with you and explain certain things to you. We do that now. As a result, sometimes rules are broken and parents need explanations around enforcing rules and have conversations with them. So.
Right. Do you have any idea what the most frequent discipline violation relates to in Fulton County schools? Is it cell phones?
I do. It's actually not cell phones. If we look at the number one, I believe it's excessive tardies. Well, it depends. Depends on the grade level, but excessive tardies is one. Our cell phone policy, that's a hot topic in our area, in the nation really, about cell phones. Our policy is very clear. Pre-K through fifth, it is prohibited. Cell phones are prohibited. And then for sixth grade through 12th, it's prohibited during instructional time with discretion of the teacher, who may want to use that as the cell phone as a instructional tool. So it's at discretion. And we'll continue to monitor and evaluate and see what would be the best optimal learning environment for our students.
I know our board is engaged in some robust discussion of delaying the cell phones. And so I look forward to continuing that conversation. It's been so informative spending some time with you gentlemen today. Thank you. I can't think of a more important topic, because we can't get to the teaching and learning unless we have safe learning environments for our students.
The foundation.
Parents, please, please, please make sure you follow these gentlemen's advice, and that is read the student code of conduct, sitting with your child, understand the rules and regulations that govern behavior in Fulton County schools. I hope that you have a successful year with your children. And as always, thank you for watching Let's Talk Schools. And now, let's go around the district in 90 seconds. That's it for our show this week. Let's keep this conversation going. We'd love to hear from you on our social media platforms. Join us next time on Let's Talk Schools, and as always, thank you for watching.